In this video, we will be breaking out mesh maps in order to use some of the more advanced features and effects here in Substance Painter. So the purpose of baking out mesh maps is to transfer some of the mesh information onto textures. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be getting some of the mesh information from the high poly sculpt, or maybe like the ID sculpt, onto this sort of lower mesh. The reason why we need to bake out the texture maps is because it allows you to use some of Substance Painter's more advanced options. So it allows you to add more details and be able to quickly texture objects using sort of advanced mask generators and filters. So you really do need these maps in order to create stuff such as normal maps, or use smart materials, or be able to add some really cool effects. Without these maps, you really can't do much in Substance Painter. So what we need to do is we need to go to the texture set settings, which is the second option here, and go to bake mesh maps. Now, when baking mesh maps, you'll be creating a whole bunch of stuff. You'll be creating normals, world space, ID, ambient occlusion, curvature, position, and thickness. All of these are needed in order to actually, again, work with the advanced options. So the normals will allow us to actually create normal maps onto the model itself using our high poly mesh or our ID mesh to extract that particular information. So in the comments section, what we need to do is add in our high definition mesh. So I'm going to click on here and I choose my HoloSite. Again, even if you're not using a high poly one, what you can do is something like this. With the lantern here, they're both the exact same mesh. It's just that one is essentially a ID map, so it's just got the basic information that we're going to be transferring onto the main model. So we're going to be using our high definition mask, our high definition mesh here. So if you scroll down, where it says match, it's going to correlate this low poly mesh to the high poly one. Now it will try to match the information always, so just basically how it is, or we can match it by name. So if you go back to Maya really quick, as you can see, this is called outer low and this is called outer high. Now by naming it low and high, we're basically telling Substance Painter, okay, this needs to be exactly the same as this one here. They both got the same sort of information. So transfer all that sort of high definition information onto this low one 100% accurately, rather than just trying to guess it. So you need to make sure that the suffixes are correct. So the low poly one obviously is called underscore low, and the high one is called underscore high. If you've called it something else, again, make sure that whatever the high one is called, you put it there, low one there, etc. So again, with this one here, this is our main model here, so this is called handle underscore main. So this would go under here, and the ID one would go for the high. Now, we could just bake it out right now, but we need to make sure we do one thing first. In the ID map, we want to make sure that we're getting the color source, not from the vertex color, because we haven't used any vertex colors. We want to get it from the material color. Because as you can see here, this HoloSite here uses a material to use for its use of its identification map. So we want to make sure that the color source is material color, hue shift, and make sure you press apply to all, because at the moment it's only applying to the outer casting. So once that is done, I'll probably change it to 2048. Everything else here seems fine. Now we're going to press bake all texture sets. Now this could take a couple of minutes depending on how good your PC is. So once it's done, we'll come right back to it. See that all of our mesh maps have now been baked out. So we've got normal, world space, normal ID, etc. This thickness one here, we don't really need to use it. So if you want to keep it on, you can do, but I'm going to turn it off. In the bake mesh maps, when you are baking it out, you can just turn that off if you wish. But we're not really going to be using that one. So you can see here that on our low poly one, it does kind of look like our high one. That's because we've used our high poly mesh in order to add in that sort of extra detail that we can now paint on. So for instance, if I just turn off this normal map here, just have a look at the mesh. You can see how it's pretty much changed. We're getting all that again because our normal map, all that information is coming from our high poly mesh, so it looks a lot better with the normal map mesh on. So again, it gives that a sense that it is actually more like our high poly mesh. So all of these maps are crucial in order to provide that extreme high detail on our mesh. You can really see it when I turn off certain aspects. If I turn off the ambient occlusion, again you can see those sort of small sort of shadows have now been removed from the actual screw itself. Now, with that complete, in our next video we will be going over applying materials and using some of the fill options and even some of the effects in Substance Painter.